This evening, the focus is to really share a series of practical tools, ideas, and really to get you thinking about your brand and how to market more effectively. Do you agree with this concept of choice overload?
Yes.
Definitely.
Who here has Netflix or Disney or DSTV? Okay. Okay, so Raksha has probably have the greatest challenge here.
We can watch the movie on Friday night.
Exactly that. My wife and I, once the kids are asleep, which is for a very short period of time, it could take up to half an hour just to choose, because you're watching trailers, and then if you both have to agree on what you're watching. I don't know if you compromise in your household. You try to find that sweet spot. Pair that with WhatsApp and email, and that just the stacking effects. It's quite frankly overwhelming. Where do we focus our attention? Who finds himself at the end of the day where you actually can't really think about much? It's almost eat and then go to bed because of that information overload. And I think paired with that, the combination of both mis and disinformation. And I came across this visual. I don't know who else here is a flat earther. Well, don't be shy. Yeah, I was hoping for at least one hand. Okay, so I found this visual. I don't believe in that the Earth is flat. I think it's more of a square, but that's personal choice. The information that we receive, is it in fact accurate? What is the source of the information? Is there an agenda? Is there a bias in that? So who do we believe? Do we follow CNN, Fox, Al Jazeera? On a local front, what do we consume because it's impacting the way in which we see the world? And I think we can all agree it's certainly upside down. So with that context, I had to share this quote by Seth Godin. He is a globally renowned strategist, marketing strategist, speaker, and author. And there's a quote that I absolutely had to share with you. Don't try to make a product for everybody, because that is a product for nobody. You can't be everything to everyone. Not everyone, this might come across a bit harsh, cares or wants or needs the products or services that you offer. The opportunity lies in the niche and building a community around that. And that really is the focus for today. I was working on trying to make an acronym that it would go viral, and I had BTM, I had RTMC, and I just it didn't work. So I was like, it's not going to work. But these three concepts, I think will land, and I'm sure, like many speakers in the room, the power of three, and the talk this evening is predicated on those three elements. The first is brand identity. And for those who would like to learn how to create incredible presentations, I do offer training. Check that. Ooh. I know. Wow. Yeah, thank you. That was a joke for those that clearly don't mind me. It's like he's a bit limited. So the first piece is brand identity. Your identity is the absolute epicenter to your brand. It is your core. It guides the decisions you make, your marketing. It has an influence on new hires, on how do you hold the attention and engagement of your staff. So every facet of your business is underpinned by your identity. Certain elements that I think are worth highlighting is your vision. By show of hands, who here has thought about the future state of their business? Okay, so a few. And have you broken that up into business and brand and maybe personal? Yeah. Okay, so Brony, yeah, we're on the same page there. What does that future state look like in both a professional and a business and personal capacity? A brand that I came across, or that I thought would be a great reference, is Red and Yellow. They're in the branding marketing space, a tertiary institution. And I really like their vision. We are vision-led and values-driven, and we're developing the next generation of change makers, creators, and innovators. They're very clear on where they're going. My takeout is that it's aspirational, and that's something you want to really imbue in your vision. Is it a rallying cry for yourself? If you're a solopreneur, if you have a team, does the balance of the team resonate with this? So to think about, where am I going? Because think of every meeting, every pitch, presentation, email. What is the point if you don't know where you're going? So the value of having a vision is it helps lock down on your GPS coordinates. You don't always necessarily, it's not a straight line, as we know in life, anything but. A lot of detours, signal, potholes, toilet breaks. But the reality is, if you have those GPS coordinates, you will realize that vision. That's really the key takeout there. Objectives. We were speaking about Checkers 60/60 before we commenced with the presentations. Who here uses Checkers 60/60? Wow. Okay, that's probably the highest number. Okay, we're not too clear on our vision, but we certainly are using Checkers 60/60. I suppose we actually need to think of more immediate needs, I suppose. They got their timing right. I understand that Pick n Pay was actually first to market, but Checkers have dominated in this particular space. Think of it from a brand and business perspective. Incredible. You have the option of sitting in your own home or in the office. Your order is delivered within 60 minutes. And I think it's up to 35 items. How that extends or grows market share, customer loyalty, that lifetime value, that repeat purchase, getting to know what you're buying. I mean, the data from that. And also from a trust perspective, I'd like to highlight, I know you're probably going to gather I live a really adrenaline-fueled life. I ordered some peppers, like the robot peppers, and 1.5 to 2 of the peppers were moldy. I know, just blew the Friday evening, outdoor water. The takeout is, and obviously the T's and C's, they've got this watertight, is you can very easily state a default product, and in this case, they automatically put, I think say it cost 40 Rand, and credited me like that, with no checks, no emails, no calls. They trusted me, and obviously they would have a certain number, and it depends on the price. I mean, $40 versus something that's several hundred or thousand Rand. There's obviously T's and C's there, but they trusted me. I was going to say they don't know me from a bar of soap, but they have our data, so they know us. Privacy died a long time ago, but it endears you to a brand. And I will be speaking about trust, but just think about that in terms of your brand and business as to what your objectives are and how are you building a community and critically trust.
Simon,
yes.
Did you see that child?
Sorry, Brandon, can I grab that water?
Checkers 60/60.
Sorry,
I know.
Sorry, cheers, thanks too.
That's when you know your brand is made. You invaded children's parties.
Yeah, it's actually really sweet. So exactly to your point, Robin, that my eldest is 4 years old, and she calls it the Checkers man's just arrived, and she wants to look all I don't know, relative for a 4-year-old, like makes a thing of it, and ran up and gave the Checkers man a hug. But the thing is, at 4 years old, how ingrained a brand is with, if you think of that teal color, and those little trolleys that we're seeing, the helmets, and we've got I think about 400 Rand, the little bikes. But the point, and they're really loud. But the thing is, a critical aspect of growing your brand is that you're front of mind. They're very clear on their objectives, and they're achieving that. Obviously, there's some ethical questions around engaging with children and that brand awareness, but arguably they are building long-term equity. So yes, to your point, purpose. Your purpose is your reason for being. Arguably beyond making a profit, it's really subjective. What Yoko does, I think we're all familiar with the brand, Yoko exists to give entrepreneurs a platform to grow. When small businesses thrive, the economy does too. I mean, I don't like whoever wrote the copy. I get emotional. I mean, it's just so single-minded in terms of who their audience is and why they're doing what they're doing. My question to you is, what is your purpose? Because, yeah, when things get tough, we could, be questioning why are we doing this? And if we are so focused on why we do it, it will help us break through and realize our GPS coordinates. So that's Yoko's purpose, and I think we all can agree small business is the lifeblood to our economy. Another aspect to your brand identity, as I mentioned earlier, it's really underpins your brand is your essence. Has anyone ordered coffee from Vida?
Yep.
And when you tip the barista, I don't know about you, I've become incredibly self-conscious because obrigado, and just like my inner awkwardness just comes through. But it's so ingrained, the culture, the essence. You can see it in each barista, in every store, from Umhlanga to OR Tambo. So think of that nationwide presence, quite frankly, international. They have a presence in Ghana now. The brand's expanding. The copy, our people, our purpose. Our people at the core of everything we do. I love this. Passionistas work tirelessly to ensure that you get to enjoy your life and coffee moments each and every day. Obrigado to them. So as much as about the consumer, they're very clear on their staff. And it goes back to the fundamentals. Look after your staff, you'll be looking after your customers. What is the essence of your brand? Can you lock it down to one or two words? And the beauty of this exercise is if you can crystallize this, it can live through in your marketing, in your communications, in your brand behavior. So that's essence. A critical facet that's linked to identity is your brand position. Batu. So for those that aren't familiar, it was founded by a gentleman by the name of Theo Beloy, and he's growing an empire, and quite frankly, good for him. If you told me we want to launch a sneaker brand, you're competing with the likes of Nike and Adidas and New Balance, etc. And Batu is, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's as though every week a new store is opening. I see some heads nodding. Batu is a common universal slang word primarily used in townships across South Africa to describe a shoe. Batu was established in 2015, so roughly 10 years ago, in a local township, Alexandra. It has now grown over the years with over 32 stores. I think it's at 45 now, nationwide. And what I absolutely love, a staff complement of over 300 employees, and there's a screenshot off the website, over 300 employees who are predominantly youth. As you know, I think in the last quarter stats SA reported about 45.5% youth unemployment. So say we'll make it 50 to keep the numbers simple. This brand is actively addressing that. Imagine we could have more Batu-esque brands in the market. They're creating a distinct position. Their South African heritage in the name, through to how that is communicated visually in the shoes. They are distinct. So the question I'd like to pose to you is, how are you differentiated in your industry, in your category? And it's to think about, well, what makes me unique? So it's intrinsically linked to differentiation. What makes you stand out? And the other component is, how are you communicating that in everything that you do? And I think one of the greatest examples, which many of us know, if we say Volvo equals, and it's pretty much unanimous. I'd be pretty thrilled if I were the CMO of Volvo. And yeah, I think they do know that. What is that thing you are known for? So take the time, look at, it could be potentially your methodology. If you are in the services space, what is your approach? What is that flavor, that style, that perspective that you bring to the table? If you, in product, is there a process? Is there something proprietary that you can leverage and own and critically create a moat around your brand, because then it makes it that much more difficult to attack. So what is that thing that distinguishes you? The next element is your target audience. By show of hands, who is really clear on who they need to speak to? Okay, I hope so, yeah. And I will caveat, and I include myself, it's an evolution. I remember when I had started my brand consultancy under the name 310s, in itself, an evolution with that. And it was predicated on the decisions we make in the next 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years. So taking a short, medium, and long-term horizon. If I look at my audience 15, 16 years ago, it's very different to that of today. But you have a hypothesis, you think where there's a need, but through iteration and getting feedback from the market as to whether there's that uplift will very quickly give you a sense of where you stand. So with target audience, we're looking at a core group of customers. As Seth Godin points out, you're not speaking to everyone, or you shouldn't. You've got limited resources, time, budget. Rather speak to a core group of customers or clients that care. Glue is a fairly new brand. I think it was launched in the last few months, maybe into the last quarter of last year. It's a subsidiary of PPS. So we know PPS targets professionals, so your doctors, lawyers, accountants, engineers, so traditional professions who earn well. So they're thinking about what that socioeconomic standing is, what profession they're in, and to some extent the stability of income around that. They have launched Glue, which, if you think of those professions, a new market segment that they've identified. This is a screenshot from a MoneyWeb article. Essentially, the ideal target market for Glue products is middle upper income individuals. So we're getting a financial dimension to that. Aged between 25 and 55. So age, with a minimum household income of 30K per month. Again, there's a financial piece, ideally with a diploma or degree, or a connection to an existing PPS member. I thought that was quite an interesting psychology that they're revealing. Okay, so if you're connected to someone with PPS, generally they're a doctor or an accountant. So there's, in terms of the circles that you keep. So I'm really interested to see how this brand does in the market. I think they will do well with the backing of PPS. So some things to think about in terms of your target audience. Who are you speaking to? And is it translating in terms of sales and that retention? Where is your ideal customer based? Locally, do you meet with them on an interpersonal level, so one-on-one over coffee, for example, or do you engage with them online? Who largely does online work here? Okay, so some, yeah, it just depends on the client and also their preference. I mean, they could be down the road but prefer to meet on Zoom. Take the time and dissect or build out who that ideal customer is. Increasingly, the sweet spot for me is growth-based businesses that are looking to punch above their weight class. So, and I always caveat, I have such a profound respect, if you think of a business life cycle, to be at this point. Massive sacrifice, massive risk, and clearly, whatever they've done with their brand and marketing has got them to this point. So from my side, the clients that I typically engage with are hungry to learn because they're wanting to take their brand to the next level. and they also have the financial resources to pay for my services. And as we know, with respectfully, including myself as a small business, just what a small business can afford versus a more established, say, a medium size versus a large or corporate. So I wouldn't be able to have said this 15 years ago. There's only one way that I found that out. Through a lot of rejection, which increasingly I'm becoming slowly numb to. Rejection is rejection. It's like you ask asking someone out and they say no or never, or just trying to. I'm trying to numb the teenage and early 20s. But it's a case of refinement. You're always iterating. So please never become complacent around who you're speaking to. Take the time, think about who is ideal. And some of the factors for me is mindset, that want to take and actually action your advice. I find that really rewarding, because equally if a client, and we all have had various experiences where you give them advice, they don't do anything with it. And you're like, why did you pay me? But you did pay me. But it's like the efficacy is obviously diluted. So please spend your time, because by concentrating on your core markets, you're concentrating your marketing, your message is more bespoke, and you're likely to see a higher uplift or return on investment. So in terms of the quality of leads that you'll be gleaning, as well as the sales and uptake for that. The third, and I know we've got about 3 or 4 hours left. This is, I find it funny every time I say that. I'm probably the only one that really enjoys it. So taking a step back, we're looking at marketing channels, but more broadly, how are we building that relationship with our customer or client? Channels vary from in-person through to digital. Veldskun, I think, has become an incredible, with backing such as Mark Cuban. I mean, I think he's worth about 4 billion US. So times by, what's the exchange rate? Was it 1 to 2? I just think with the rand, we're right up there. So close. I actually do believe I have so much faith in South Africa that I think we really could compete. Maybe that's just my view. Veldskun, it's become default if you think of the category and offering. I've included a screenshot of some of the ways in which they engage with their customers. Email. Email is such an underrated channel. You have to make sure that you're POPI compliant, so the Protection of Personal Information Act. The ramifications are severe, so make sure you stick within the lines. But if you think of the psychology of email versus a targeted ad on, say, Facebook or LinkedIn, email, you have opted in. You want to hear from that brand. Think of the paradigm shift here. There's that personal connection to the brand. And if you use software such as MailChimp, you have incredible analytics around open rates, engagement, and from a cost perspective, and they work with tiers, so depending on the size of your audience, you pay more, depending on the tier. But I mean, the potential ROI is one of the most unmatched. So you can see why Veldskun have employed that customers want to hear from the brand. There also are, and obviously as the brand is scaled, they can be on more platforms. There's a very youthful element to the brand that they've included the likes of TikTok and Instagram. They've also included, this keeps things exciting, so the presentations on BenQ.
Such a cool brand.
Yeah. Anything else that we could? That's all we could talk about the colors, the brand colors. Yeah, that's all I had as well. They thought about their channels where their audience is, and a recommendation and something that I've even employed with you've got to actually what you advise you actually need to take on yourself. Being on fewer platforms can have a greater efficacy or result than trying to spread yourself too thin. This is obviously an exception because there's serious backing and the brand is growing, justifies the marketing budget and allocation per channel. What I wanted to share with you that's linked to Volkswagen and all the brands covered tonight is it's a well-documented model around the types of media. The first, and the way these are described is very self-explanatory. I could actually just do this. That's it. That was pretty much, you got it, yeah.
Thank you. It's deep.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Okay, so we've got 3 hours and 55 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Owned, if we think of the channels, these are assets. I typically would include your website, your blog, and to some extent, the likes of using MailChimp, but it's the database that sits behind that. Remember, these are typically things that can't be taken away from you. Obviously, there's exceptions, but generally, you own these assets. When we move into paid, as the name suggests, it's paid advertising, using the likes of Google advertising, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok advertising. You have a presence in terms of a profile and typically a page, say a LinkedIn page. But if you I've just gone blank. If you are essentially, you go against the rules on, say, LinkedIn, your account can be suspended or you can be basically kicked off the platform. You don't own these platforms. And without going into the political aspects of Trump and TikTok, there's a learning here. No, that was such a. That's all I'll say on that. Yeah, my adrenaline's starting to really soar just mentioning Trump. Is if your business if you use TikTok Shop, if your business and your livelihood was on TikTok in the States, and say Trump did a complete banning of that, yeah, you'd be, as I say, we can all relate, you'd be cucking yourself. So there's something to be said around being on a few core channels, not being on only one, but I would rather concentrate them. But the key takeaway with paid is that you're putting advertising spend in order to reach an audience. And earned is when you're spoken about, that you get featured on blogs, on East Coast Radio. See what I did there? Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned a few, like, so there was the 10 Rand. Yeah. Yeah, it was East Coast Radio, home of the hits.
Insert shameless plug,
That was literally anything else. Any promos or like
You've done a great job.
Was that okay? Brendan, cheers.
So
It's very subtle.
technically you're bribing in front of all of us.
Yeah, but I'm no longer the president, so it's
No, it's changed. If I was bribing Colleen, that would be perverse. No, this is with integrity.
I learned to move.
He's not bribing, he's asking for a tender.
No, whoa. Okay, well, again, we're not moving into any political spaces here. The beauty of earned is that you have effectively been spoken about without a lot of spend behind that. You're spoken about in or around the business table. That, when you have built your brand and you're communicating effectively and know your audience, that is a result. So it's to think about, well, what can I do with my brand? What activities, marketing activities can get my brand spoken about? And to box smart around limiting what you have to spend to do that. And it's a different way of engaging with your brand. It's not a direct sell. Another core facet that we need to think about is your message. Is everyone familiar with the brand Pura? Has anyone tried it? Okay, and thoughts?
my wife's favorite soda.
At least it's that and not like Moet or like Veuve Clicquot or something like that. I would say even if it was Coke, it's still going to be cheaper than some of your premium brands.
I almost got Colin Cubs Pura just to say thank you. But I went with the gold Prosecco.
You're just showing. Yeah. That's the second. I like that you're mentioning it twice.
Just Getting in the
yeah, like
future presidents and all.
yeah. And you're also showing that you got deep pockets. You're generous.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I like that. A man of integrity. I respect that, Brendan.
10 rand.
I think Pura is really clear on its message. And I have tried it, and I'm trying to cut back on Coca-Cola. Apparently there's sugar. Comes as a surprise.
Who knew?
Sure. And I'm also a purist. I don't like that less sugar nonsense. It has to be like half a can of sugar, which I really don't want to know the effects on the body long term. This is a great substitute. Look at how they are communicating the brand message. Hit refresh. So if you think of that bold hero copy, Pure Soda comes without sugar rushes, rude colors, artificial sweeteners, and synthetic ingredients no one can even pronounce. I found that really relatable. I mean, it's actually frightening if you look at any of the labels of the stuff we're drinking or eating, like maybe it's preserving our bodies, I don't know. Tasty and refreshing, Pure Soda has just 4 ingredients. A sprinkle of pure cane sugar, and a skinny 65 calories per 300 ml can. It's soda, pure and simple. I mean, the copy, again, that's the words. It even sounds light. I mean, with 65 calories per tin, low sugar. They're not saying there's not, but clearly a lot less than, say, original Coke. Natural flavor, no colorants, no preservatives. And I think there's, with the trend around health and wellness, they're positioning themselves really effectively. So my question to you is, what is that message you want to convey to your core audience? Is it convoluted? Is it long-winded? Or is it to the point, like Pura? Remember, our customers or clients are time-pressed, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation. We need to get to the point really quickly. Equally, as much as the message and wording is critical, tone. It's often, not focused enough. Babylon Storm, such a, I see some smiles. Everyone familiar with the brand? Okay, so it's a combination of, some of the sister brands are included here. Physical Wine Farm in Franschhoek. There's a store component, restaurant, and the most incredible gardens with incredible fruits and veg. That physical experience is lived through to e-commerce and their socials. And critically, tone is how you say the message. So welcome to Babylon Storen, where everyday moments and seasonal celebrations become unforgettable experiences. So you feel it. I mean, look at the copy on your right-hand side. From our farm with love. So it's the words that are used and how that conveys the message. So please think about what is the words that you use and how is that being potentially received. So words really do matter. This can be a tough one, brand consistency. So ideally, what we want to create is that golden thread in brand building. That every point of contact that your customer or client has with you is consistent and based on that brand identity. Who you are, what you're about, your value sets, etc. Zappa, I think, are getting it right. By a show of hands, who uses Zappa here? Do you remember before when you'd split a bill? I did Stanogram maths like 40 years ago. So when I was faced with this, I would be stressing. I probably always overpaid on the bill, and friends probably paid nothing because they took advantage of that. But now with Zappa, or more recently, is you can split the bill. You can allocate a tip or percentage per person. From the experience of that QR code, the immediacy, if you've got the app, that'll take you, you'll see the price point and you basically press accept. We were talking about the UX and thinking about what is that experience like for our audience. The golden thread is not only in the app and the interface, the user interface, it's on their website, in the color palette. Something that I often see with brands is something that they clearly, or often don't think about is if you're working with a whole Technicolor range of colors, it can come across schizophrenic and disjointed. Look at any successful global brand, they're working with a set of core colors. And my recommendation is to do a brand audit. So that's a review of all your key facing touch points, from the color palette, to the fonts, to the layout, to the spacing. That stuff matters. So that's the key point on brand consistency. Your call to action, I often see this missed. You've done all this incredible work, literally everything that I've shared you may be doing, but if you don't have a call to action, which is essentially the nudge or the instruction to your prospect or existing customer, it dies. What do you want them to do next? Have you thought about including a CTA, a call to action? You know who's really good at it is PSASA. Whoa, the website's intense. They have a carousel type effect at the top of the website, very clear around, so there's a CTA, your top right hand corner, log in. This would constitute a CTA, book now. They're very clear, 2 words, it's an instruction. The point of Sapphire is to get bums on those planes. They're very clear as to what they want you to do next. What I have included is a screenshot of one when I was going onto the website, a screenshot of a sponsored Google ad. Book flight online now. So it's stressing the urgency, take action, don't think about it. And one of the things that I thought would be of value to you is I've taken a screenshot of some of the call to actions on Facebook. It needs to pertain to your industry. So you're not going to have a download app if you're a coach, for example, and maybe you have an app, but generally I wouldn't advise it because there's massive build cost and it depends on the frequency of engagement with clients. Would you use check-in if you're a coach? Less so. Whereas if it's booked now, that to my mind makes a lot of sense. If you're wanting to drive or build your database that you can send on a mail list to people, signing up could be an incredible way of getting people's email addresses and contact details. So it's really to think about what is that instruction to your audience? Is it clear? Is it simple? Is it easy to follow? Do you want them to jump through hurdles, or is the process really streamlined? So please consider that. And we are rounding off. Metrics. How do you know that your marketing is working without metrics? Who here just hopes for the best? In some cases I do that when I try, if I go for a drive, I just hope I find the location. Who here just hopes for the best with their marketing? Who here doesn't actually know what is translating? Fair enough. It's more the norm, that response. It is a completely natural reaction. You know a little bit, but you also don't know necessarily what's not working, and you could be burning some of your money. So then it becomes, whoa. The value of metrics is regardless of your activity, whether it's a Facebook ad, whether it's giving a talk, whether it's Google advertising, there's a number of different ways, is by having metrics, you can measure the success of it. How many leads did I get from this particular process or activity? Because if you don't have that, you actually don't really know what's working. And the better that you pay attention to your channels, marketing activities and metrics, the better you can assign your budget and focus on the stuff that works versus doesn't. And I will say, even being in marketing, I'm still testing. It never ends. And I think if we become complacent, again, we're going to be in trouble. So please assign metrics and test as to see what works, what doesn't. I wish we had a crystal ball, but unfortunately we don't. And rounding off is to iterate. which pretty much echoes my last point. Janine Binneman, jewelry, based in Cape Town, she has the most wonderful brand. She loves her brand, like in terms of the color palette, even through to her tattoo, her hair's dyed blue, her glasses. I mean, she loves her brand. The key takeaway when it comes to iterating is have a look at what you're doing on socials, on your website. What are the products or services that you're offering? Where are you seeing the greatest uplift? Where are you seeing low or no sales from, or leads? You're constantly iterating. So please, if that's one thing that you take from this evening, is please iterate. So in summary, lock down on your brand identity. Who are you? What are you about? What differentiates you? You want to think about who you are relative to your target audience. Where is there a need or a want that someone or group of people are prepared to pay for your product or services? And how are you engaging them? And to round off, I have 3 questions for you to think about as takeaways. Certainly on your drive home. Are you targeting the right audience with a message that resonates with their needs? Probably should have caveat, this is quite a heavy, yes. Are you targeting the right audience with a message that resonates with their needs? Are you speaking about what you think they need or what they actually do? And you can pick some of that, particularly if you're in the service space, say coaching, consulting, mentoring. There's certain words, there's reactions. Listen to those signals. Yeah. Is your marketing strategy effectively designed to achieve your desired growth goals? And that's what I teed off with asking the question is your marketing strategy translating into sales? We spoke about those GPS coordinates, but is your marketing strategy aligning to that or going in a different direction? And lastly, how are you adapting your marketing activities to better connect and convert your ideal customers? It's iterative, it's constantly moving. We look at the breakneck speeds of AI, which equally I'm in awe of and scares me. Yeah, I don't think our tech leaders have great reputations, whether it's Zuckerberg or Musk, etc. So yeah, I suppose we're just going to have to wait and see how this movie plays out. It's really to think about how you're adapting and iterating. And with that, I don't know if there's any questions.
Very cool. First.
Yeah.